Hey guys, welcome to episode 3 of the Interview Podcast. I am James Doig and I'm here today with Leon Othen and Marty Walker.
Fantastic.
Right.
Oh, we got the name right this time.
Yeah.
There we go. Improvements said week 3. Third time's the charm.
That's it.
Okay, guys. So what's been going on over the club this week? Anything?
Lots as usual, right? Everybody's got their classes and stuff that they're attending. Webinars that they're attending and so on and so forth. And Leon's soccer garage is looking more and more professional every day. We actually
I've got the white duct tape on there now, so lines and everything.
Sidelines and end lines.
Did we come up with a name for that? I know there was a few comments.
We'll have to have a look. There's some really good ones. There's a couple of in jokes that people were using and whatnot, but I will have to look through it and we'll let's have an official name for next week.
There we go.
It's looking really good though. But we skipped the big event last week. We skipped the Thursday webinars, the tactical webinars, and replaced it with a college recruitment workshop for Soccer Spotlight guys that I know that are our official kind of like video editors and kind of game film makers or whatever for players at the club. They can turn to Soccer Spotlight and get their videos made. They do a really good job, and they did a really good job with our players and student athletes talking about the recruitment process and stuff. So it was good. It was a really good one.
So they speak mostly about how video can impact positively or negatively in terms of recruitment.
Yeah, there's a few different angles, right? And it's funny. One of them is he's an English guy, and the other kid's an American, and they both kind of came together, and they both started the English guy started the company, and the American jumped on board with them. Both played at Fairfield, so they have different experiences from being recruited, right? It's so different being a European than it is to being an American, and even Matt, the guy who's from Connecticut and from Trumbull. His experience was so different than most people's experiences these days. He get recruited very late in the game, like in his senior year, without having ever talked to anybody. He sent in video, and the video that he sent in was pretty good. So, they talked about their experiences. They talked about their, Jack, especially his history as a college coach. I coached with him at Fordham, and what the expectations from college coaches are relative to both video and kind of communication, which was quite good. And they kind of had a couple of anecdotes about their experience and about their links to other colleges and how their Soccer Spotlight platform has grown. So it was very insightful.
Great stuff. Well, I think just off that little intro there, I think college should be a topic for today's podcast. Yeah. Obviously, both of you guys have been involved in college, right?
Was it 9 years now? Coaching college soccer.
Yeah, I'm just a novice compared to Marty, but I've been involved with both the boys and the girls side with the college level, as you well know, James.
Here we go.
As you well know too, James. Coached you.
I've got a good story about that, which will set us up. So, my freshman year, obviously, come over, and I went to Quinnipiac. Marty, at the time, you were helping us out, right?
Yeah, goalkeeper coach.
And it was going well. Season was going excellent. Goalkeepers were doing great. Credit to Marty. Comes to the final, and Marty gets off. Doesn't tell anyone. Gets off, and then all the boys get pictures of Marty with a snowman.
Yeah, that's right.
Where was it?
I was in Texas doing a Coca-Cola camp with. Oh my God, her name's going to escape me. Centre forward for America. What's her name?
Who's that?
What, the Abby Wambach?
No. She plays centre forward. She plays for Orlando. This is going to be hilarious. She still plays right now.
Not Alex Morgan. No.
Alex Morgan. Yes, there you go. Thank you. Yeah, how do you forget Alex Morgan? That's where I was. I was doing a Coca-Cola camp with Alex Morgan in Texas.
Fair play.
Which is Coca-Cola soccer camp, which is that is a random story, Dougie.
Yeah. So with that in mind, obviously, you've both had college experience being coaches, and you've obviously been in the office when emails have coming in from parents or from players or that sort of thing, right? Were any of you
Yeah.
directly involved in the recruitment?
Yeah, well, I've been now for quite some time, right? Recruiting nationally and internationally, for several different institutions, Fordham, Yale, now Long Island University. So yeah, like I on a daily basis, even now during this kind of downtime with COVID-19 or whatever, you're just getting emails fired at you left, right, and centre about kids that are interested in the program for this fall and for like 2021, 22, and 23. So you're always receiving a plethora of emails from all over the world.
Now, them emails that you're getting in, are they from seniors that are wanting to come in a few months, or is this sort of freshman emailing saying, "What's going on, guys? Put me on the radar. I'm not ready right now, but put me on the radar."
It's a broad kind of spectrum, right? We do still have people that, with every club, there's kids that kind of float under the radar even through to their senior year that end up kind of being a little gem, kind of hidden, that nobody's recruited yet. So you typically end up getting somebody kind of late in the game that that kind of just surprises you, you know. But we also, for the most part, get those ones that are a couple of years out and are starting to get into their recruiting process. Then you also have people recruiting on behalf of foreigners. So like you'll have like agents in Australia, Belgium, England, South America that are emailing us with like videos of their players and so on and so forth. And it's you're inundated with everything on a daily basis.
Right.
How many say you get, Marty, a day? Because I remember being in the office and both the head coach, the assistant coach, and myself used to get.
Yeah.
I used to get 30 odd a day, and then I was nothing compared to the head coach.
Yeah. No, depends on your program sometimes, right? At Yale, I was getting about 1 million a day because everybody wants to go to Yale for obvious reasons. But yeah, you get easily. There's not a day goes by where you don't get at least 10. And it's like 10 a day at least from different kids every day.
I think it's getting to the point now where a lot of kids, a lot of parents, I think it's always been a thing, but it's so important and it can help you out so much being a college athlete. Not only while you're in college, but then also post-college. I can speak from just me. I've just left college, and being an athlete, that being on your resume is huge. And I think something to keep in mind with that is there isn't just Division 1 soccer, right? There's Division 2, there's Division 3, there's NAIA, right? There's in total, would I be right in saying about 800 schools that college
It's a good
soccer
question, actually.
about? It's a guesstimate. I'm sure I read that somewhere.
But yeah, there's just over 300 Division 1 schools.
So yeah,
so right. 800 is probably a good call.
Mm-hmm.
So with that in mind, there's all different levels and there's all different commitments. Yeah. So if I'm a player now at a club, I don't have to, if I don't feel comfortable going, or I don't feel like I'm comfortable enough or good enough to go to a D1, then there is D2 or D3. Or if I want to focus more on academics, maybe a D3 is more appropriate, right?
Yeah, well, that's and through the club and through Goalkeeper HQ as well, we work with a lot of kids that want to be recruited, and everybody has to weigh up different things. There's some kids that are just desperate to go D1 and can probably do it, but they have to accept maybe that they're not going to play as a freshman or sophomore, maybe never. They might just get recruited to be a training player, and they have to at least be comfortable with that going in. I've seen players who said they were comfortable with it, get into the environment and just don't like the environment because they're used to playing a lot, and all of a sudden they're not. So that's one consideration. The other one is academics, right? We've had, last year we had over 18 seniors. I think 13 are playing in college now at the minute, D1 to D3. But there was 2 guys who were good enough to play at college, at the Division 1 level. But their academic choice of school was, one was Georgetown and one was Duke. You just don't turn those schools down to go play soccer. No disrespect. They like Quinnipiac or Fairfield. You don't stay local and play D1 soccer. instead of going to Duke or Georgetown. It's just not, just shouldn't be a consideration. You know, that's why we kind of always push academics and good fit first. You know, soccer, if you kind of hit the nail on the head with soccer, then it's a real added bonus, because, as you say, it does provide you with loads of extras. College athletics, you know, you're in like a quote unquote fraternity, and you're connected with people, and it's good on your resume, and people look out for you on job applications just because you've been to this school or that school, and so have they. So yeah, it's you know, across the board, picking the right school isn't always just about picking soccer.
No, I think that's the key there, isn't it? Because, you know, even if you do go to a school for soccer, you know, it might take one injury, or it might take the fact that you don't get in the team and you're not enjoying it. You've got to spend the next at least 4 years there. So I think academics have to come first and foremost before anything. And of course, being comfortable with the school. I think we speak to the players and we say, all right, what are your 10 schools? You know, I had one high school player that I spoke to her. I said, where are you thinking about going? She goes, as far away from my parents as possible. So she didn't care about it. She was happy in Arizona. But then there's others. You got to think about the geography. You got to think whether you want a big school or a small school. You got to think whether you want a city or a campus. And of course, whether that school does the courses that you're going to be happy doing. And James, you probably would have seen this more than myself and Marty, the number of students that do like 1 year and it's not a good fit. So they end up almost wasting a year and end up transferring.
Right. And
yeah, I've had experience of it myself. We've had players go to D1 programs for the sake of D1 soccer. And for one reason or another, they've either underestimated the actual professionalism of it and the requirements needed to be a Division 1 athlete, right? They probably went in thinking it wasn't going to be as tough as they did, or they didn't like the school, or they didn't get in the team. So one of those reasons forced them off the team, right? And deciding not to play anymore. And instead of seeing the school through, they've transferred to a different school, which tells me in the first place that school wasn't the right fit for them. If you're going to go there just for soccer, but not enjoy the school and the environment, if the soccer doesn't work out, then you've wasted that year, as Leon says, and you're just changing the environment anyway.
Yeah, I think something you mentioned there about it being a full-time commitment, especially D1. I'm sure D2 and D3, but I can't speak for that. I can only speak for obviously my experience. And it's 8 a.m. If you've got 10 a.m. training, 8:30, 9 a.m. You've got to be you've got to have had breakfast beforehand, right? Then you've got to be in the treatment room around 8:30. You train from 10 to around 12 or 1. You shower, you do treatment and lunch. And by the time you know it, it's 2 o'clock. And then you've got to get your classes in and study. And then you've also got to get it early night, eat the right things, right? Because it's high level. You're training every day. And then usually many players will go back in and either do a gym session throughout the day or go and see the trainer again. So it's a big commitment that you don't really think about. It's like a couple of full-time jobs.
Yeah, but you haven't even included the games there, James.
Yeah. Exactly, right. It's a grueling 2 games a week schedule.
Yeah, and depending on like Ivies and the division you're in and the league that you're in or whatever, the conference you're in, you still have different commitments, right? So the Division 3 won't have as big a spring commitment as Division 1 will, but that's only really officially. They still end up doing their own captain's practices and they work out and stuff. So it's like, it's not for the faint of heart, no matter what level it is. Yeah, certainly as you go through D1 and then the challenging conferences, you really, it's year round, even though you don't have a real solid competitive spring season, quote unquote. You're still practicing and playing games, and you still have the same demands and expectations from your coach. So it's been an eye-opener for some people, and some people have sank and some people have swam.
So I think something you mentioned there, I'm going to pick up on it because it leads into the next question. It's eye-opener, right? So for players in the club right now into Connecticut, and this goes to you as well, Leon, for players that are in the club and they're like, okay, I'm a sophomore or I'm a junior in high school, my eyes on college now, I don't know what level I can go to. Can they come and speak to you? Because obviously you see them, you know the players. Will you be open and honest with them and be like, okay, Ben, maybe D1 isn't for you, or Ben, you shouldn't be looking at D2. D1 is your game.
Yeah, that's part of my role, right? Oversee the high school division, so it's my role to help and kind of help the journey, but also be realistic and honest about people that are on that journey. You know, some people will just say, listen, I've got no interest in playing college soccer. I'm going to go play club and have a wonderful experience. Some people are going to say, listen, I want to go play at Duke, or I want to go play at wherever. And you have to kind of rein them in a little bit and say, hold on a second. It's like, it's not that easy. It's just loving the school and thinking you're a good player. You know, you have to kind of like really excel because you're recruiting kids from all over the world. And then there's those guys that are like, listen, I might go play here, there, and kind of are underestimating themselves a little bit. You have to say, listen, you can achieve good things if you want to. If you've decided on a specific school you want to go to and you're happy with it, then yeah. But don't kind of underestimate yourself. It's like push for someone that's just about within your reach. And if you get there, then it's a victory. If you don't get there, then at least you've tried. So it's about like managing some expectations, but also giving some people a little kick in the backside and a shove in the right direction.
I think something that you do offer, Marty, is experience at the different levels as well, and knowing the levels. From what I've heard and seen of some players, they probably, unless you're in the college system, it's very hard to get a grip of what schools offer and the level that's required. It's all very well saying, oh yeah, I want to play at Duke, I want to play at, Wake Forest or something like that.
Yeah.
They have no idea, you're almost a professional at that level.
Yeah, no question.
And I think the ability to be able to let players know what it takes to be at that level is so important. And I think that's something that you do offer, and without you, whether you know it or not, Marty, that's you kind of letting players know the different levels that they can play, whether it be, Division 1 is a player playing at Longwood, right?
Yeah.
You push them to go and play there, but there's others that said they were going to play at UConn. You had to say, whoa,
yeah.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, that's true. No, we do. We've got a couple of guys that have graduated from a program recently that are Division 1 programs across the country. And we got guys that are really good high academic D3 programs, and then we've got guys that are just kind of scattered all across the country in D1, 2, 3 programs here, there, and everywhere. Fortunately, I do have a little bit of experience because I did coach D3, and I know that kind of roadmap as well. I haven't been involved with the Coast Guard Academy, but yeah, it's they find it quite anxiety filling and challenging, but ultimately they tend to kind of end up in a good place regardless. Our guys, everybody seems quite happy where they end up, and they're playing soccer and they're given a good education and a good student experience. They all three kind of go hand in hand.
That's it. Yeah. No. It did, and that's something I started it off with, is about employment, right, and how post-education and when you get employed, if you say you're an athlete, how many benefits there are. But while you're in school, being an athlete and playing, there's nothing better. There's nothing better. I had a fantastic time. I cannot speak highly enough about college athletics. The amount of effort, money, and time that the coaches put into you. You mentioned it's somewhat like a full-time job in many schools, but it's also like a job that you enjoy with your friends. And you go and you're playing soccer all day, and you're in classes with your friends, you're doing everything with your friend. It's fantastic. I really enjoyed my time.
Well, I think it's the same with all team sports, really. And, whether you're in high school or college, your friends, you're talking about the friends. Your friends can be freshmen, sophomore, juniors, they could be seniors, right? No other opportunity are you going to have really to become friends with seniors as it coming in as a freshman. So I think that's key. But the question that has to be asked, and I've seen all different levels when we're deciding what colleges to go to, is for those people that might be on the bubble. I've seen people that are keen to get into Division 1 colleges and want to be involved in that setup, even though they know they might not play. and the kudos of walking in the corridor saying I'm part of the soccer team and going and playing, at some fantastic facilities against some very good teams with maybe the pressure of knowing that you're never going to play, but still have the camaraderie of that, or whether you want to be a player or an athlete that has to play. And I know that you might not play as a freshman no matter what school you go to, but you've got to have one eye on whether you're going to be playing or not. So I find that fascinating. And Marty, with the psychology of it all, whether you want to be a bit part player in a strong program or be the superstar in a smaller program. I find that fascinating.
Yeah, and some people tread that path a little bit too lightly. They think because they're a really good player on their club team, they're going to be a really good player at their college team. And sometimes you take it for granted. Like the biggest advantage I think players from any club going into the collegiate level have over college players, there's a definite strength discrepancy, right? The collegiate guys are physically more capable, but that season before you go into your freshman year as a student athlete with your club, you've probably got 19, 20 games. Whereas even at the D1 level, you have 6 games in the spring maybe. So you should be a little bit technically fresher, sharper on the ball if you've committed to your club and you get to all the practices and you play all the games. I've seen the benefits of being that person who's at every practice and crushing it regardless of how good they are and being at every game and giving 100% versus the guy that's been recruited in the fall season of his senior year and therefore takes his last club season for granted and thinks, you know what, I'm recruited, I'm awesome, I'm going to a D1 school. And all of a sudden, come September, as a freshman, having done 2-3 weeks of pre-season, they're crying because it just wasn't what they expected, because they're, 1, physically way behind, because that's just the reality of it, and then 2, technically way behind because they've took their soccer season for granted. Like that's a pet peeve of mine whenever somebody gets recruited and just, that's it, I'm done. Thinks they've achieved something. And I've seen it at our club and at other clubs and with players that I've recruited as well,
Yeah, I've seen it with freshmen that have came into Quinnipiac, right? And you've came in and you're looking at the coach going, who is that? He's mile off the pace, right? And then give it a month in and then you go, okay, well, he's actually a good player. But he was obviously one of the players that were like, okay, I've made it. So then took the foot off the gas, right? And obviously, as you know, with and that's what's important. Like, you need to come into college. If you decide to go to college, you need to come into college ready, because if you can't come in slow. If you come in slow and you're missing out on the first week game, right? And then after the first week game, there's 3 more games in the conference schedule, and the coach has near enough got his team by then, right?
Yeah.
So if you're missing out on that and not coming in sharp, then you might not get a game in your first season.
Hey, and I tell you what, forget impressing the coach. You've got to impress your teammates.
Yeah,
exactly.
Because I don't care what you get. Like it's dog eat dog out there, and if you're not doing well enough, no one's going to pass you. You're not going to get the respect of your teammates. So you're right, James. You've got to almost do a pre-season. Otherwise, it's the same when you play pro, right? If you turn up to pre-season and you are not ready, you've got to be, you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah. A big one of that, and it's non-football related, but is fitness, right? Because pre-season, Quinnipiac were good about touching the ball. They understood no one wants to just stand there and run, but we will do testing.
Yeah.
Straight away, it's the first thing you see in a player as a coach or as another teammate is he's carrying timber. Or, he looked good. He was fit. Right before you've even seen them touch the ball and you do the fitness test. So straight away, it sets an impression like, oh, wow, he must have been training and working hard over the summer. Or he was sitting on his arse eating cakes.
I just thought, remember, was that your last year when I think you'd struggled a bit, and I tell you what, it's a blessing in disguise. Remember the fitness trainer put the phone out on the brand new app, and then they had the bleep test on the AstroTurf, and like people, I knew there were people that weren't ready for it and whatnot. And
I was one of the. So in college, I think my fitness test. So in the gym, I was terrible in the gym. But the fitness test, I was always in the 2 or 3. Apart from me last year, Casa just absolutely ruined it. But yet we had our fitness test on the turf, and the machine overheated.
Yeah, because it was a brand new turf, wasn't it?
So the coach was carry on, trying to fix this because we were already like 10 sets in. And then I obviously I'm doing it, but I was just slowed down and was getting my breath a little more, thinking, I'm going to stop this back up. And then you get the busy bees that are racing faster, trying to keep the pace. Yeah, no, fantastic. But yeah, that's certainly something that you notice right away is the fitness.
It's making that first impression, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, and then it's across every kind of aspect of it, right? You have to go on, you have to show that you're capable to play technically.
Yeah.
2, that you've prepared yourself physically.
Mm-hmm.
And then to your point, like those fitness tests either make or break you mentally. You'll see people that are like, oh, sore hamstring or I hurt my calf, and you know they haven't really hurt their calf. You just know they're struggling,
right,
and can't push through.
Now, as a coach, you look at that, right, and you take notes.
Oh yeah, it's blatantly obvious, and you don't even need to write a note down because it sears into your brain so much that you just can't let it go. As a coach, you know, it's like, oh my god, yeah, it's like you can tell it's like he or she has another at least 10% in them, but they're just not doing it and it's not because they're physically incapable. It's because they're just not mentally or emotionally prepared.
Right, and
you know, and that ultimately works against you. You know, when it's down to performance and trust. No, what's your performance like? If your performance is good, that's great, and if it can trust you, that's great. If your performance is good and it can't trust you, then it's an issue.
Yeah, I think you'll see. Well, you do see it more and more the top 10 level colleges, and you see it throughout. I know Quinnipiac last year, for example, they want to use the full roster. Your strength is within the full roster. Obviously, college soccer, you can roll in, roll out. If you've got players that are capable of playing at every level and good players, it's a huge benefit. So freshmen shouldn't come in with the mentality, I don't think, of this is my freshman year, I may just redshirt, or I may just... Because I've seen players do. I've seen players come into Quinnipiac and before they've even touched the ball, talking about maybe redshirting or if they don't play. And no, you should want to come in and start, because if you're good enough, it's a benefit not only to you but also to the coaches, so they can go into the depth of squad.
Well, the coach, and Leon's been on a couple of coaching excursions with me. We went a quality jaunt to San Diego a couple of years ago to the Surf Cup, and whenever I go out recruiting and looking at players, I'm not looking at players to fill gaps. I'm looking at players who are better than the players that we have right now. Yeah, that's what you should. I think that's what any coach should be doing every time they go out looking for players. So it's like, if you've invested your time and effort and energy in recruiting a player, it's not because he or she is going to come in and be your 20th player. It's because you want them to come in and be in your top 10 straight away.
Yeah, and just for context here, you know, it's important for people to know that when you're going to tournaments like that, Marty, you have your list. You know, in the 2 days or whatever it was, you had your list of, what was it, 40 players, 30 players.
Yeah.
That, you know, you're not just wandering the fields, as it were, looking for players. You had a distinct...
No.
Yeah. And you were looking for that top 10 within that 40. And some you saw half a game worth, some you saw 20 seconds worth.
It's funny when you go recruiting, because you do have your list of players who you're following up with, and you maybe seen some of their video and you're going to go watch them play, and you're watching and you're like for example, Leon and I went to see a goalkeeper in San Diego, and the ball was up at the other side of the field for like a corner kick or a free kick around the edge of the box, and was recruiting for Yale at the time, so it was a female goalkeeper. She was standing on her goal line. So from a goalkeeping coach perspective, their position's awful. So they're like, all right, 10 seconds. First thing we saw, all right, done. No chance. See you later. Move on. But then there's people that we go and see, and they were like, all right, this player is playing for this youth national team, and you have to go watch her play. So we went to watch her play, and she want that game. She just didn't do anything at all.
There was another one.
She struggled.
There's another one with the parent yelling on the side. Yeah. And just, we don't want to deal with that.
But that youth national team player, the game that I went to see her play, she had a horror game, and one of her teammates crushed it, and I wasn't there to see her play, and she ended up recruiting her teammate for Yale. So it was like a little bit of luck of the draw.
Well, one of the last things I want to touch on, we've just touched on it, is parents. Do they play a part?
Yeah, depends how much you hear from them.
Okay.
If you hear from them a lot, they play a part in not getting the child recruited. You know what I mean? That's they're entering adulthood, so they have to deal with it themselves. Once you've talked to a player and invited them onto campus, then their parents come in, certainly, and you like to have a good relationship and good rapport with the parents. But it can make or break a child's recruitment.
Communication. These kids are 18 years old, right? Around about, if not a little younger, 16 to 18. Should you be hearing right away from the parents? No, right? It should be from the players. I know if I was a coach and someone emailed me that was 16, I'd be like, are these mature enough? Like, why is the mom and dad emailing me?
No, it's a process, and I'm sure good parents support them in the background of the process, right? And kind of gauge them and guide them.
Yeah.
But shouldn't kind of step on their toes or get in their way or impede or even try and support that much until a certain time, right? There's a certain time when the coach meets the player, meets the parents, and it's important they build a good relationship there then. But even after that, once they're in play, it's important that the parents take a back seat and let the kid do the talking.
Fantastic. Okay, well, I think that'll wrap up episode 3 of the interview. Thanks for joining, lads.
Cheers, buddy. Thank you.
There we go.
Peace.